On this episode, I am taking a look at Josh's final big board of the draft season. I can't believe it. Draft day is just 9 days away, I believe, at the time that you're seeing this video, which means Josh's final big board, his final top 150 has come out. And I'm solo on this show, so it's my opportunity to take a look at it, criticize it, and see what you think about his final top 150. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 305 Gridiron. In this final week before the draft, we are here. Well, I am here. Anthony Pinzone, your host for this evening. Josh, a.k.a. Aqua Ace, on vacation in Jamaica right now, having a much better time than me because he's got the weather and the beaches and the sand and the water, all that fun stuff. Whereas I get to stare at a computer screen even more. But I love it. I love talking to you all. So we're going to talk about Josh's final big board. Just uploaded it to the website right before I hopped onto this recording. So as of Monday, April 13th, the final big board is live on the 305gridiron.com. If you haven't checked it out already, please do. We have our big board. We have lots and lots of mock drafts. I think we have 4 up there right now, 1 more being added next week. And then we will be live during the first round of the NFL draft. That will be live on the homepage of the website. So you can always check us out there or head on over to youtube.com and put in the 305 Gridiron. We have 186 subscribers now. Thank you so much for all of you who have subscribed. Looking to get to 250 by August 11th. All right, so without further ado, let's dive into Josh's big board. I uploaded all the data, but I haven't really taken a good look at it yet. So I am kind of exploring this big board right along with you. So let me go ahead and switch over to show that. Here we go. All right, so one of the first things you may notice about Josh's big board, and he's pretty proud of this, Fernando Mendoza is not the top prospect on his board. Now, I know that others out in the world, Daniel Jeremiah's and Todd McShay's and even maybe Joel Klatt's, have probably not had Mendoza at the top of their board the entire draft process, but I think by now they do. Josh has stood pat by saying, I'm not going to give in to the peer pressure of the big boards out there. And he's kept Mendoza down at number 6 behind Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, and Caleb Downs. Josh is, of course, a big fan of Caleb Downs. I don't really know enough about him to say whether or not I'm a big fan of him, but I will say from a positional value standpoint, to see 2 linebackers and a safety in the top 5 is pretty crazy. Throw in the running back into the mix, and we are talking like historically different positional value for Josh's top 5 compared to, I think, what most NFL teams normally look at in this process. So, positions that we normally see that are highly valued in the NFL draft would be offensive line, edge rusher, quarterback, of course. And towards the bottom of the list is, we've seen it all. We've all seen it. If you've been watching the NFL for even more than one season, running back is pretty much just above kicker and punter at this point, maybe long snapper too. But running back has been really devalued, especially if you compare it to how the draft used to run. Josh and I were talking about this off air the other day. Back in that Ronnie Brown draft, 2005, we took Ronnie Brown 2nd overall. He was one of 3 running backs taken in the top 6 or 7 or something like that. Could you imagine 3 running backs taken in the top 10, let alone the top 7 in 2026? It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane to even think about. But Jeremiah Love at the running back position is Josh's number 1, and he has stayed pat as Josh's number 1, I think, for pretty much the entire draft process. I mean, he has been a huge fan of Jeremiah Love. I mean, look, he compares him to Jahmyr Gibbs and Alvin Kamara. That's huge company to be in. Gives him a grade of 9, not a fit grade. I'm sorry. This is my bad here. This should be overall grade. His overall grade, 96.8. If you go ahead and click the player, you'll get the profile underneath. He has an 80.2 fit score. And what's the difference between the overall grade and the fit score? The overall grade is the grade of the prospect, just without any other considerations, not considering the team, the position, anything like that. How talented is this prospect? The projection goes along with that, right? It's like it does take into account the position a little bit more, but not really. The projection's kind of like, hey, it goes hand in hand with the grade, the overall grade. 96.8 grade, top 5 projection for Jeremiah Love. The fit score is where you'll see the biggest difference. The fit score is the fit with the Miami Dolphins, right? And the fit grade, which you don't actually see represented by a letter or anything like that. You see it represented by the colors. He is in the B range, given the yellow color. Now the A range would be the teal, the more teal / sea green. And then actually yellow might even be C range or lower B, because blue comes in here at the B and lower A range. And then it just gets worse from there. I think red is the only other color. I think there's only 4 ranges here. So it's top tier, which is the sea green. It's second tier, which is the blue. And third tier, which is the yellow. And then final tier is the red. I should really put that on the website somewhere. Maybe I'll make that update before the draft comes. But here, Jeremiah Love falls into the third tier when it comes to the fit with the Miami Dolphins. And why would you expect that? Well, because we have Devon Achane, right? Like, he's not saying that Jeremiah Love doesn't fit with the Dolphins because of a scheme fit or anything like that. I think Love fits pretty much anywhere. He's a very dynamic player. But the Dolphins have Devon Achane. So if Jeremiah Love fell to 11 and we took Jeremiah Love, that would be a colossal failure, I think, in the eyes of most Dolphins fans, right? Let's move on to number 2, because I think this one's really interesting, and I think Sonny Styles is one of my favorite players in the entire draft. He has risen up draft boards for sure, but I don't know that many people are going to have him as high as number 2. In fact, the most mock drafts I've seen lately have had him kind of fallen towards the end of the top 10. Some drafts even have him falling out of the top 10. I must say, if he falls to 11 and Miami doesn't take him, I will be very disappointed. Now, I don't really expect them to. I really fully, in my mind, expect them to take an edge rusher or an offensive lineman here. I think just everything they've talked about so far has been building from the inside out, building things the right way, and draft scouts and GMs and people of that nature, when they say things like that, they mean building from the line, offensive line, defensive line, and moving outward. So on offense, you're talking like, offensive line is first, then you may be looking at tight end, wide receiver. If you don't have a quarterback is above everything. Let's be honest. No matter what you're building, you need a quarterback. I do think the addition of Malik Willis has kind of stunted our need for a quarterback right away, given that this quarterback class is not very, is not highly touted. You can see on Josh's board, he has Fernando Mendoza at number 6, Ty Simpson at 30, Drew Allar is at 84, Nussmeier at 92, Beck, and so on and so forth, right? He has what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks in the top 50. That's it. Not great. And that's a poor quarterback class. And next year's quarterback class is supposed to be much better. So I think the addition of Malik Willis kind of removes the quarterback need for us. And I know that Sully and Half have talked about, or Sully especially has talked about he likes to draft a quarterback every year, every other year. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just take a pass on this class altogether. Perhaps if Carson Beck falls a little further than expected, we'll take a shot on him. If he's still there in the 4th round, like Josh is projecting here, perhaps we take a shot on Carson Beck. I'm not really a big fan. 6th-year player, redshirt senior, and I still didn't see enough out of him. I mean, if you've been playing in college for 6 years and you still can't show enough, I don't really know what else there is to say about that. It's pretty almost guaranteed that he's not really going to be a top-tier prospect, right, in the NFL, or a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. Hey, people have surprised before. I just don't see it there. Let's get back to Sonny Styles for a second. He's in one of those positions that is not considered a top-tier position. The linebacker position is not considered Off-ball linebacker, to be specific, is not considered a top-tier position for NFL GMs and NFL scouts. Arvell Reese is a little bit different because he plays off-ball linebacker and edge rusher. When we saw Sonny Styles as an edge rusher, wasn't that great. He's definitely an off-ball linebacker. I know that some of our fans aren't really a big fan of him. I just think that we need somebody alongside Jordan Brooks. Some of you who have watched me before know that I'm not the biggest Jordan Brooks fan. I think that he gets a lot of tackles because he's often in a position to have to get the tackle because he's out of position a lot. Now, I am not going to pretend to be an X's and O's guy and pretend to know everything that goes into his position. Everybody who's anybody in the NFL says he's a good linebacker, so I should believe them. I still think, though, Terrell Dodson alongside him was a colossal disappointment last year. We re-signed Willie Gay Jr., but he barely got any playing time under the last regime, so maybe he'll get more into the new regime. I don't know. If Sonny Styles is there at 11, we don't take him. Hugely disappointing. I think everything else looks pretty good up here. Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Caleb Downs in the top 5. That's not that surprising. Reuben Bain Jr. up to 7. This might be the biggest riser. I'm pretty sure Reuben Bain was at 14 in Josh's last big board. So to have him at 7, that's a pretty big move up. I am growing quite fond of Francis Mauigoa. He's here at number 8. I think if he's there at 11, that would be an absolute home run. Probably fill in immediately for Austin Jackson, who, if you're still a fan of Austin Jackson, that's fine. He was a first-round pick. I get it. But he had to take a restructured contract just to stay with the team. He's always injured. He's not that reliable. He had one good season, which we're all holding on to. But ultimately, you need more than one good season to be considered a great player in the NFL. I think Francis Mauigoa is 6'6", 335. He comes in. He could slot right in at right tackle. Then we have right tackle and left tackle completely solved. And we're really just looking to complement the interior of the line at that point, where we have Jonas Savaiinaea, who struggled mightily as a rookie, right? Mightily. But we have Aaron Brewer at center. And then right guard is a competition between Salyer, who we signed from the Chargers, and whoever else we bring in to play guard, right? Potentially a rookie. Potentially Vega Ione here, who's a big, Josh is a big fan of his. Actually, Josh has moved him down a little bit. He used to be Josh's highest rated offensive lineman, period. Now he says his highest rated interior offensive lineman. That's a little bit of a change there. So interesting to see that. Josh is also the highest I've seen on Dylan Thienneman here. Dylan Thienneman is safety out of Oregon, coming in at 6 foot, 205. Nice size, the kind of size that our new regime likes. He has a 91.6 fit score. Josh is predicting he'll be in the top 15, and he compares him to Antoine Winfield Jr. and Javon Holland. So in his little write-up here, he says he is always a step ahead, quick reads, quick trigger, quick finish. He covers ground well and shows up around the ball, whether it's breaking on throws or cleaning up runs. My concern with taking a rookie safety, if I'm being honest, is that if you're going to take a rookie safety, you may need to take 2 rookie safeties because we don't have anybody back there, right? Dante Trader Jr., the 5th-round pick from last year, is still on the team. He has potential to start back there. We signed Lonnie Johnson as the guy to come in and fight for a position back there. And we signed somebody else to compete as well, but again, not a guy who's expected to be a big time player back at the safety position. So to take somebody like Dylan Thienneman, I'd be very surprised if this were the pick at 11. I don't know how I would feel about it overall, but I know Josh really likes him. It's just my concerns with picking a safety are, as I outlined, he might get picked on, right? Because he's going to be alone back there. Taking a look here. Vega Ione at 10, Spencer Fano at 11. That's great. Mansoor Delane, right? We all know those guys are going to be fantastic. Mansoor Delane is mocked to us a lot, so no surprise here to see him at 12. Carnell Tate at 13, that's a little surprising to me. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but I do think that Tate is falling a little bit, and this is kind of evidence right here. Josh now has all 3 wide receivers in a tight little bunch, 13, 14, 15. Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Makai Lemon. I know Jordan Tyson has like some of the a lot of scouts and GMs really chomping at the bit because he has the talent, right? He's shown the talent, but he's always hurt. That's the big problem with him, is that he couldn't even participate in the off-field things in the combine. And I I don't think he did his pro day either. Like, he hasn't really done anything. And this has been a trend in his college time, too. So while he's immensely talented, you can see here the comparisons, Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb, you need a guy to be on the field. And we have just gotten rid of Chris Greer, who was just absolutely well known for taking guys who are hurt all the time, who won't be on the field. Look at the 3 guys he drafted in, what was that, 2020 when Tua was drafted? Tua Tagovailoa, Austin Jackson, Noah Igbinosun. One of them's left on the team. 2 out of 3 were always hurt, and Noah just wasn't talented enough to be drafted in the first round. So while I think Jordan Tyson is interesting, I find the grouping of the wide receivers all back-to-back the most interesting piece here. That's kind of crazy to me. I think Mekhi Lemon turned a lot of fans off with his interviews at the combine. It was really weird, right? I don't know why he approached the interviews like that, but certainly rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way, I would say. This is a massive climb up right here. Ahkeem Messador up to 16. We've been mocking him to the Finns around the 30 point. To see him climb all the way up to 16 is pretty crazy. So that's interesting. 6'3", though, 280. Leonard Floyd and Yannick Ngakoue are the comparisons. 91.6 grade, only at 84.5. So tier 2 fit with the Dolphins. Expected to go in round 1. But 16, that's a heck of a move up for him. Excuse me while I pop a cough drop in. That time of the year, right? Kenyon Sadiq at 17. It's a little lower than I've seen him, but I think that's actually more appropriate than all of the risers that have been showing him top 10 and all that. I don't see it there. He's an incredibly talented tight end, but the tight end position, again, is another one of those positions that not a top-tier position, right? So, interesting, though. I've heard some talk from, I think, Daniel Jeremiah, actually, when he was on with Peter Schrager. He was saying, like, if you're drafting there in the middle rounds and you're looking at Carnell, Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, and Kenyon Sadiq, maybe you do lean towards Sadiq. And that's an interesting take. I don't know. Is he as talented as these top 3 wide receivers? You tell me. 'Cause I don't know. Jermod McCoy, 18. That's a little bit of a fall, but that's to be expected for a guy coming off of an injury. He hasn't played football since January of 2025, I think it was. So I think this is a necessary slide. McNeil Warren climbing up draft boards. I mean, I think when we first started doing mock drafts, he was in the 2nd or 3rd round. Now he's 19 overall. Absolutely crazy. It's a size, weight, production thing. Fantastic safety at Toledo. 6'2", 202. Absolute monster. Gets mocked a lot to the Steelers there in the middle of the first round. Go ahead and read up on him. Really good player out of Toledo. Played 3 years as well coming out as a senior. I love that. Avion Terrell, don't know a lot about him. We don't actually talk a lot about him. And I don't think we've ever mocked him to Miami. But this is about the range that I see him normally. Same with TJ Parker. Caden Proctor's had some rumors around him about, like, potentially going to the Browns at 6. I don't know if I believe that. It's draft season after all. Keldrick Falk at 23 is interesting. I think there are a lot of fans out there, a lot of NFL fans who really like Keldrick Falk, who would love to see him, especially in the middle of the first round, maybe later in the first round. So I think 23 is really a sweet spot there. But this is the one I really want to talk about. D'Angelo Pons. If you've watched this show at all during the draft process, the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, you know Josh's love for D'Angelo Pons. All 5'9", 170 pounds of him. I personally don't see this regime going for him. I just think he's too undersized, and I think while size isn't everything to the new regime, I do think they have a mold that they like to try to stay in, and they'll only really break that mold if the guy is an extremely talented player. Now, I really like Pons, but I don't know if he's talented enough for them to break that mold, especially at 5'9", 170. Incredible player, though. In the championship game, he was causing havoc for Miami's offense. Scrappy, sticky corner, that's how I would describe him too. Really aggressive player. I think listening to Todd McShay and Mensch and the Todd McShay show, that's their big concern, is that he's potentially too aggressive, and it may not work out for him in the NFL because at 5'9", 170, he can't really be that aggressive and still play at a high level. I mean, I guess you can, but I think they're predicting that he won't, and that'll be his struggle. Omar Cooper Jr. here, rising up quite a bit too. Another Indiana player rising up the boards. Josh's comparison is Rashee Rice and Laviska Shenault Jr. This is an interesting one. Laviska Shenault's now playing in the UFL, so it's interesting to see him comped here. 6 foot, 201. He's a nice size receiver, physical, tough receiver who doesn't play scared over the middle. I wouldn't mind somebody like that for Miami. Caden McDonald, I feel like this is a low priority for the Dolphins, especially after drafting 3 defensive tackles last year. I'd be shocked to see us take a defensive tackle again this year. That would surprise me a lot. Caleb Lomu's not a guy we talk a lot about, but I do think that he could be on the Miami's radar for the 30th overall pick if he's still there, if Josh's prediction of 27th is anywhere near where he might be drafted. I could see Lomu in play there at number 30. Lee Hunter at 28, that's fine. Boston at 29, we've talked a ton about him. Ty Simpson at 30, that's interesting. That's really interesting to me because Ty Simpson, I like him. I know that McShay likes him a lot, but then there's other analysts that don't like him that much, don't think he'll be an NFL quarterback, a great NFL quarterback. You know, Todd McShay's counterpart, Mensch, doesn't really like him that as much as McShay does. So it's interesting to see that battle go back and forth between the two of them. I think Ty Simpson in the right spot could be very good. Like, you know, like Kirk Cousins in some of the spots he's landed, like in Minnesota, right? Brock Purdy landed with the San Francisco 49ers, right? Great. The only spot he could have landed where he's probably successful. And some would argue he's not successful, but he's been successful enough to get a big contract, right? I think if Ty ends up in Arizona or the Jets or something like that, he might struggle. He probably will struggle. I think if he somehow, some way, the Rams take a shot on him, he'll have a better than good chance to be successful. You know. Cassius Hall at 31, Max Henniker at 32. Those are fine. I'm gonna keep scrolling here until we find somebody interesting. So here's one. Jacob Rodriguez. We mentioned in the last episode that Jacob Rodriguez is somebody who our former co-host really loves. Actually has him in the top 6 of his big board overall. Sorry for the screen size changing there. But yeah, interesting pick. I think that Rodriguez is fantastic. I think if he's there at 43, we should snatch him up. I think him going in the first round is a bit of a stretch probably, but he has the size, 6'1", 235 pounds, coming out of Texas Tech. So, you know, Dolphins fans get excited. Zach Thomas came out of Texas Tech, and a lot of us Dolphins fans from the 90s and the early 2000s were big fans of Zach Thomas. He was my favorite player of all time on Miami. So it's just that connection, I think. That connection's automatic. Linebackers out of Texas Tech and Miami Dolphins fans were connected, you know. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Rodriguez. I really like him. 37 might be a little rich, but hey, if he's there at our pick at 43, I would love to see him at least in consideration there. Emmanuel Pregnon, another one, great option at 43. If we don't end up getting the guys we want in at 30 and 11. The draft's so interesting, though, because it's like it's a domino effect, right? If you've ever done like finance with the snowball effect, where it's like the whole idea around that is you start to pay off one bill, and then once that bill's paid off, you use the money that you were putting towards that bill to go towards the next bills, right? In the NFL draft, I feel like there's that same kind of snowball because you have this list of players that you need. You have your shopping list, right? And now it almost is like the snowball is melting as it goes down the hill, right? It's getting smaller. But every pick you make, that snowball is getting smaller because now you have less options because the draft is going, right? 11, the options at 11 are much better than the options at 30, but also your needs are changing. So if you take an offensive lineman at 11 and then another offensive lineman you love, like Pregnon or something like that, falls to you at 30, the decision is crazy, right? In my mind, I'd be losing it. I'm like, dang it. We could have taken a playmaker at 11. Instead, We took the lineman, and now there's no playmakers left at 30, but there's another lineman left at 30. And I know everybody says BPA, BPA, BPA. Stop it. It's just terrible analysis. Everybody coming out of a beat, take the best player available. Everybody has a different idea of who the best player available is, Sherlock. That's why it's such frustrating, though. It's so frustrating, though, because it's not just take the best player available. Because if you got 2 or 3 guys within 1 point of each other, they're all the best player available. And now it's positional grade. It's like positional analysis. If you have Pregnon as your 25th ranked player, so you don't expect him to get to 30. So you take, let's say you have Spencer Fano, your 15th or something like that, and you end up, well, let's say 12th. Let's just say 12th. All right, keep it right around our pick. You have Fano as your 12th. So you take Fano at 11. Now you get down to 30. You're not expecting Pregnon to be there. Now Pregnon's there. Now you're kicking yourself, right? Do I take Pregnon too? Spencer Fano and Pregnon? You could. And many fans would say, yeah, because we need offensive line help. But I think as a GM, you're kicking yourself. Because what if Carnell Tate was there at 11, right? What if Mansoor Delane was there at 11? You could have grabbed a blue chip piece at wide receiver or corner or safety if Caleb Downs falls and gotten Pregnon later. But instead, you had to go with your board, and that's the frustration of the draft. Great pick here. KC Conception, climbing boards a little bit. He stays a little lower for Josh at 40. I'm okay with that. Colton Hood at 42, a little lower. I think I'm okay with that too. Eli Stowers. Zion Young, a lot of Dolphins fans really like Zion Young. Interesting prospect, 6'5", 262. Some say he's a very raw prospect, but he is a senior. Some say he's more talented than people think. He's underrated. And it's only fitting that he's right next to R. Mason Thomas and Romello Height and Gabe Yakas. You could tell Josh had a hard time separating these 4 players. All similar sizes, similar production, right? Similar profiles. But you'll see here the fit grade. It's interesting how he has him ranked. I think he thinks Zion's the best of the 4 overall, but he thinks Romello Height is the best fit for the Dolphins overall. Yeah, it's interesting. Because then if you go down a few more, Malachi Lawrence and Joshua Joseph's not far behind down here. He likes Malachi as a fit for the Fins, but doesn't really like Josh that much at all. This tells me there's a lot of edge rushers, though, and that 43 range might be a prime spot for us to get an edge rusher. You know? That's pretty interesting. Because if you got like guys like this available 47, 48, 49, 50, 53, 54, and you're picking at 43, right? You're going to have your pick. Imagine like a Pregnon doesn't fall. Rodriguez doesn't fall to 43. Lots of edge rusher options, and we need edge rusher help. I know that we signed Uche, a few other high upside prospects, but we need edge rusher help, man. Like Chop hasn't done it yet. Chop hasn't been it yet. Will he ever be it? I don't know. It's hard to say. Mike Washington Jr. climbing a little bit. Josh hasn't too much fell for that climb. He hasn't been in the second round. I think late second, early third is probably where Washington fits, but we don't need a running back. Just wanted to point that one out. I think he's been climbing boards quite a bit. Jennings Dunker is a favorite. Obviously, Josh loves him. Has him in tier 1 in terms of fit. I think compares him to Sean Ryan and Matthew Bergeron. I just love the hair, if I'm being honest. And then we got Danny Dennis Sutton. Big, strong edge rusher out of Penn State. I think the Chop pick was a surprise, to be honest. A few years ago when we picked Chop, I wasn't expecting that. And I've compared Danny Dennis Sutton to Chop only because it's easy. It's lazy. That's my bad. You know, Sutton appears to be much more disciplined against the ground game, which Chop is not. Bigger guy, 6'5", well, not size, like weight-wise, but 6'5", 265. He's got a decent size to him. He seems like a project to me, though, Late second round. Maybe you get him in the third. We have 4 third-round picks. Maybe he ends up there. 59 seems about appropriate for him, though. Let me go down a little bit. A lot of people like Elijah Surratt. Interesting to see him down at 64. Has the 11th wide receiver on Josh's board. He is a decent fit score, though. Josh Palmer, Allen Robinson is the comp. I like that. Jacoby Lamb's been falling a little bit. T. Higgins, Mike Williams is a fantastic comp. Obviously, though, he's got some question marks around him to be all the way down here at 67. He doesn't play the fade well, which is interesting for a guy who's 6'4", 200 pounds. We could use a big guy at wide receiver, though. David Igbinosun, somebody we've talked about quite a bit. 6'2", 195, plays corner. Name starts with Ig, so that instantly gives you the ick, but that's okay. Coming out of Ohio State. We're not talking about taking this guy in the first round. That's a big difference to me. We're talking about taking him in the third. We have 4 third-round picks. If we can pick up a big physical corner like Davidson here, I think that's a home run. Josh has him ranked, I think, appropriately here at 68, third round. Bradbury Browner is the comp. I think that's great. Keylan Rutledge is another. We're another big fans of Keylan Rutledge. Graham Glasgow, Connor McGovern is the comp. Another interior offensive lineman playing guard, 6'4", 330 out of Georgia Tech. He's a senior. He played 3 years of football as a starter. That's what I want to see. Oh, sorry, clicked the wrong one here. Enjoys contact, brings leadership, generate movement, and keeps his pads low and drives his feet. Right? I think this is the big one here. He's got a reliable baseline. I think that's the important piece when I'm looking at guards, offensive linemen in general. How reliable is he going to be on a day-to-day basis? Week-to-week basis, yeah. Keylan Rutledge there, awesome. Let's see. Jake Slaughter, somebody we talked a lot about, center out of Florida. I just can't. There's so many centers in this draft. I just don't know if there's that many teams that need centers. Some of these guys are going to get moved to guard, and I wouldn't mind taking a shot at one. A lot of third-round picks here. Kyle Lewis all the way down at 82 is a little bit surprising because we all love Kyle Lewis a ton, and we all love Zakee Wheatley a ton. But Josh doing his best here to stay honest with the talent that they are, despite our love for them. Kyle Lewis, absolute monster at the Senior Bowl, but should that move him up the board a ton, right? Some people have. Josh is keeping him there at 82. Zakee Wheatley at 83. If we got either one of these guys in the third round, I'd be super pumped. But let's talk Drew Allar. He's got the size. He looks the part of an NFL quarterback in terms of just physical looks. 6'5", 235. He's got the big arm. He's got the good throwing motion. Can zip the ball down the field. But maybe one of the most inconsistent college players has been. In fact, first half of last year, people were talking about tank for Drew. Drew Allar is going to be like the next greatest quarterback. What people forgot, though, is that there's 2 halves to every season. So Allar's second half of the year, no good. No good. Ends up dropping all the way. He's at 84 here. Maybe see him in the second round if a team gets desperate. Probably third or fourth round is most likely, though. Let's see. Genesis Smith is another prospect to take a look at. Connor Lew, another center. Garrett Nussmeier, not a huge fan of. He did some good things in the Senior Bowl, but I don't think any of the quarterbacks in the Senior Bowl really blew me away. Bud Clark was another great prospect at the Senior Bowl. Absolutely had himself a week there. Love to get him as well. 6'2", 190, a guy with size. Josh has him sitting at 93, late third-round pick. Compton and Xavier McKinney and Darren Sharper, both Green Bay Packers, ironically enough. Malachi Fields dropping a bit here in 95. That's interesting. He has him as a good comp for the team. 74 fit score. Drake London and Mike Evans is pretty strong comparisons for a guy not expected to be drafted to the third round. 6'4", 223. He did some good stuff at the Senior Bowl as well, but we're starting to see the kind of even out the what do you call it, the positional value there for him. Carson Beck just squeaking out and finishing out the top 100 there. Justin Jolly is somebody Josh has really talked about really liking. Still has him down at 104. I don't know. People talk about this tight end class being deep, but I don't see it. Let's actually take a look at the tight end class here. When we scroll up, we can choose tight end. Yeah, I mean, Josh only has 7 tight ends on the board. Only 4 of them in the top 100. I think Kenyon, Sadiq, and Eli Stowers are the 2 big ones to talk about just because they're the big pass-catching tight ends. Max Clare and Sam Roush, I believe, project to be a bit more blocking. Michael Trigg appears to have some health issues. Evan Ingram and Gerald Everett's a nice comp there. Justin Jolly, 6'3", 251. Hunter Henry, Ben Coates. Yeah. Not a super strong position in my opinion. Let's keep going down this board though. Let's see here. Jalen Farmer, that might be a nice 4th round option. Offensive tackle out of Kentucky. Not a lot of playing time. You can see he's a sophomore. 6'5", 317. Would have loved to see him stay in school, to be honest, but hey, sometimes you need that money, right? He has the build and the tools you want at tackle, especially if you like developing linemen. So a developmental prospect in the 4th round, that's not the end of the world to me. So like Cade Klubnik at 115. Josh, not a fan of him as a fit for Miami, though. 59.7, 6'2", 210 pounds. Plays with confidence and rhythm. He could take off and make off-platform throws. Decision-making under pressure is a big one, though. And we just saw that with Tua. Do we really want that again? A guy who panics in the pocket when the pressure gets in his face? I don't know about that. Scroll down here. Let's see if anybody else interesting pops out here. Then we'll talk about some things I think are going to happen in this draft. All right, let's see. Bryce Lance, a name to watch. That's Trey Lance's brother, 6'3", 209 out of North Dakota State. Expected to be a 6th round pick. He's a guy Josh and I both really like as the developmental wide receiver late in the draft. He's got the nice size. Would be cool to get a guy with size in here. Pretty much, he'd be the next. Gosh, who was that guy we just had? We had him for like 3 years or so. He never really developed into much. Can't remember his name. That's how memorable he is. Excuse me. Taylon Green, I think, would be an interesting developmental quarterback. 6'6", 224. He did a decent job passing the ball, but he also ran the ball quite a bit. He's raw, extremely raw, but has the athletic profile that you like to see out of a running quarterback or a scrambling quarterback, whatever you want to call it. So that'd be an interesting developmental guy in the end of the 6th round there. I think that's about it. Barham's an interesting prospect to me. Josh, not a huge fan of his, but 6'3", 243, edge rusher out of Michigan. So he's well coached. I think I like prospects like that coming in late in the draft. All right, so that's that's Josh's new top 150. You can catch it on the 305gridiron.com. Just hit the big board at the top of the page there. He does an amazing job with that. I can't even imagine trying to rank 150 players out of college to the NFL. Absolutely crazy. People do it. They get mad respect from me. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen in this draft, though. I think there's some things that people overlook because we get excited about mock drafts, right? And I think what happens is we get excited about mock drafts. Every fan wants the next weapon to be drafted, right? What ends up happening, though, is that the offensive linemen go, the edge rushers go, the defensive linemen go, right? The NFL teams have much more value in those positions than I think the fans do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see almost half of the top 10 picks be linemen, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Mauigoa, and Fano and Ione went. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Monroe Freeling made his way up there or if Caden Proctor made his way up there somehow. It'd be a little surprising because I don't think those guys are ranked that highly, but also teams rank all these players very differently, especially offensive linemen. So while some teams may have Mauigoa and Fano at the top like a lot of us fans do, others might not. Others might have Freeling and Proctor at the top. So I think we will see more of the playmakers drop to us than we expect to at 11. And I'm very interested to see what happens there. I'm very interested to see if they stick to their guns, stick with the line, and perhaps potentially pass up a better player, or if they'll actually make the move that, who are we? We're just fans. So we don't know who's going to be great. But we need talent. We need good talent. We haven't had elite level talent on this team since, I don't know, before I started watching the team. It's been a long time. And this past regime, this Mike McDaniel thing, we brought in a lot of guys with big names, but they just couldn't put it together. So now building the team the right way from the inside out with homegrown players through the NFL draft, right? Through undrafted free agency, NFL draft, a sprinkle of free agency. I'm interested to see how they build it. And I'm really curious to see what they would do at 11 if they're looking at a board that has Caleb Downs and Carnell Tate. Let's say Reuben Bain falls too, but also, Ione is still there, right? What do they do in that situation? What would you do in that situation? Who would you want? If it was Reuben Bain, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, and Vega Ione, the guard, on the board at 11, who would you take there? I'd struggle. I don't know. All right. That's Josh's big board, though. On the next episode of the 305 Gridiron, I'm actually going to use the big board to do a mock draft and kind of see how that plays out. How does our draft end up if we use Josh's big board to actually do the draft? I'm curious to see how it works out myself. But that'll do it for tonight's episode. You can check out the big board anytime at the305gridiron.com. Head there, click on the title, big board, and you'll be taken to Josh's latest. I think this is version 4, I want to say. His fourth and final version of his top 150 board. He's put a ton of work into it. I know he would really appreciate it if you go check it out. So even if you just go take a little gander, you can click on a player to bring up the analysis. If you're curious about any of the players or anything like that, go check it out. He worked really hard on it. I want to see some support for it, so I'd really appreciate that. If you want to support the show right now, all we ask is that you hit the subscribe button, you hit the like button, and that's it. We don't have any sponsors. We don't have any memberships. We don't have anything else that we're trying to sell you. Just a click of that button that says subscribe, and that'll do it for us. All right, for myself, Anthony Pinzone, this has been another episode of the 305 Gridiron. Thank you so much for joining me as we took a look at Josh's final big board of the NFL 2026 NFL draft season. I'm so excited. It's less than 10 days away. It's coming really, really fast, and I can't wait for it to get here. So until next time, this has been the 305 Gridiron. Thank you so much for watching. Fins up, everybody.